Here we are with Professor Pellegrini. She is a professor at the University of Bologna at the Department of Juridical Science. She teaches a course on the mafia and anti-mafia issues. So here we are, and I would start with the first question. So, Mrs. Pellegrini, what is the Mafia kind company, and does it affect the legal market competition?
So, first of all, it's necessary to distinguish two kinds of mafia company. In the first case, the mafia member becomes an entrepreneur and transfers the mafia meter to the management of the business. In this case, the mafia method implements condition of subjection and omertà in relation to the social condition and the social context. This kind of entrepreneur does not lose his identity and does not get rid of his mentality. His attendance in the economic world does not imply, therefore, a break with the context of violence from which he comes. On the contrary, the possibility to access to violence is used as an additional weapon through illegitimate against competitors. The violence does not disappear, but becomes an instrument through which to divert the natural use of economic activities from the productive end to the construction of organizational structure aimed to the illicit. The other type of mafia company, in the other type, the principal entrepreneur is an unsuspected subject. But in the management of the company, there is an exponent of the mafia association. This kind of company is finalized to camouflage the mafia investment in such a way as to preclude the identification of the criminal origins of the capital and therefore to contrast, or in any case to render more difficult, the intervention of the state. Although the ownership of the company in this case and the management power will formally belong to the clean entrepreneur, the latter will commit himself to employ the capital in order to satisfy the economic interests of the mafia partner. In this way, through respectable structure able to operate as a normal market agents, the mafia capital will be invested in the legal economy, poisoning the dynamic of the market and distorting the rules of the competition. So the mafia in an economy alters the fundamental rules of the market through the manipulation of the fundamental access of the state system. First of all, the great accessibility of financial resources will place mafia company in a state of competitive domination. The mafia will not need to turn to the banking system to ask for financing because it's able to use illegal activity as a source of the great profits which it really need to be invested in order to become productive and does not remain inactive. In the second point is that mafia company performs an alteration of the competition. It constitutes real monopolies that can sell competition with the companies faithful to the rule of the market and conducts the transaction through fraud, deception and violence. Mafia enterprises succeed in security goods and raw material at price much lower than those of the market, without being exposed to the competitive pressure to which other enterprises are subject. The third question is the abuse of job. This phenomenon mainly takes the form of evasion of social security and insurance contribution and a non-payment of the overtime work. This is an employment strategy to the detriment of workers who are subject to seasonal variability and occupational instability and are also exposed to a very high rate of accidents because safety regulations are not respected at all. From the despotic use of work, mafia derives considerable profits. but above all, it obtains control of the territory and of the workforce, which in certain contexts find itself forced to accept a proposal both for the impossibility of being able to decline them without consequences and for the effective lack of alternatives.
Is confiscation norms, which you talk about and you deepen on inside your book, have been provided to counter mafia's economic power. Would you argue that this has led to positive outcomes overall?
Yes, it's now fully shared the conviction that the deprivation of mafia good represent the most effective instrument of contrast mafia organization, more than the same detention of the affiliated that can be easily replaced by an army of new subjects easily recruitable in the ranks of the organization. Depriving mafia of its great financial availability, it's the same as disarticulate criminal organization more than the detention of affiliates. Avoid the strength of economic power of the organization, weaken the possibility of maintaining logistical structure and recruiting, weaken the economic survival of free and detained affiliates, their family, and also lawyers, and limit the supply of arms, drugs, and everything necessary to carry out or increase illicit traffic. But above all, to strike mafia wealth good means strike mafia in the manifestation of its power. Real estate and companies represent the presence of mafia on a territory, and those symbols correspond to it, the manifestation of power of the mafia itself. Therefore, an extremely effective instrument, both from the operative and also a symbolic point of view.
Great. The Italian legislation to counter organized crime is also considered to be one of the most efficient, and we can actually state this also reading your book. So what are the main reasons that make such legislation unique?
Yes, in order to neutralize the dangers of mafia, Italian legislator expect some patrimonial measures in order to cut the connection between the good and the person, also without the presence of a judicial sentence of condemnation. These instruments have substantially modified the strategy of contrasting mafia organization. It has been allowed to seize the good, considered to be the fruit of illicit activity, or which constitute the reuse. And the particular of this tool is that you can freeze the good with the sole, the only presumption that these are in the availability of the mafia subject, even if these goods are in the name of other subject. With a substantial reversal of the burden of proof, it will be the subject who will have to demonstrate the lawful origin and the lack of proportion with respect to his income and his activity. If this does not happen, the assets freeze, the state freeze in the first phase the good, and then this good will be definitely confiscated. The European Court has also well understood the nature of the prevention measure, considering that this type of confiscation cannot be considered a criminal sanction. Since it represents a necessary measure tool and therefore justified to the protection of public interest. In 1995, with the law 109, now this law is included in the anti-mafia code. This law completes the law Riunioni La Torre, and this is a unique process on the international science, which, after having struck the mafia, on its most precious asset, aims to restore to the community what organized crime has taken away in terms of opportunity and wealth. All of this was supported by the awareness that while it was evident that the necessary passage of confiscation responded to the need for a more strictly legal and judicial contrast to the legal, patrimonial and economic dimension of mafia association, it was also clear that the most educational aspect is in the restitution, direct and material and tangible to the territory and to the whole community of what was illegal accumulated by mafia. The provision of social reuse of confiscated assets represent the beginning of a new historical phase of the anti-mafia that has recognized a leading role to the community. That from passive subject has become an incubator of projects aimed at giving new life to this asset, which from contaminated now become contaminants of positive approach and social redemption.
Great, thanks a lot for the contribution. Thanks a lot again, Professor Pellegrini.